I pulled into the driveway with a small box on the passenger seat beside me, wrapped in brown paper and tied with a ribbon my son picked out. The box wasn't just a gift, it was a peace offering. I thought if I got there before the party started, before the cousins, uncles, and neighbors filled the rooms, maybe I'd have a quiet moment with Dad. Maybe we could talk, without the noise, without her around. The house looked the same. Beige stucco, trimmed hedges, wind chimes rattling softly in the Modesto breeze. But the silence was too sharp for a Sunday afternoon birthday. I knocked once. The door creaked open, just a crack. My stepmother stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind her like she was trying to keep something in, or someone out. She didn't hug me. No, "Hi, sweetheart," like she used to say before everything shifted. Just a thin smile, tight, measured. "I thought we already made it clear," she said. "You're not invited today." I blinked. The weight of her words didn't hit right away. "I just wanted to drop off Dad's gift." She glanced at the box in my hands like it was a dead animal. Then her eyes met mine. "You being here, it complicates things." My voice caught halfway out. "It's his birthday." She folded her arms. "And this is a family gathering. I am family." A beat. A cold breeze. Her tone sharpened. "You chose to be a single mother. That's not what this family represents. It's not something we want to expose to the children. It sends the wrong message." The wrong message. The box in my hands grew heavier. "I didn't come here to cause trouble," I said. "I thought maybe things had changed." She tilted her head, a little too pleased with herself. "They have. Just not for the better. For you." She turned, hand on the doorknob, then paused. "You've made your choices. Now let the rest of us enjoy ours." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. "That's not your call to make," I said softly, "and it never should have been." The door clicked shut, not slammed, just final. I stood there for another minute, maybe two, long enough to hear the muffled laughter from inside, long enough to know no one was coming out after me. Back in my car, I placed the box on the passenger seat again. I didn't drive away immediately. I just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring at the beige house. It wasn't anger that welled up. Not first. It was that old ache. The one that shows up when you realize they meant it, that it wasn't an accident, that you really aren't wanted. A memory drifted in, uninvited. The night I told Dad I was pregnant. His face had gone still, unreadable. She'd leaned in, whispered something in his ear. He never repeated it, but I felt the shift that very second. Why did I think this year would be different? Why did I still try? I considered leaving the box on the porch, a symbolic gesture. But no. That would mean they deserved it, that they earned even a part of this thoughtfulness. I drove off with the gift still beside me. The ribbon fluttered slightly in the air vent's breeze. At home, I wasn't sure how long I'd been staring at the wall before my son padded in, socked feet quiet on the hardwood. "Did Grandpa like the gift?" he asked, eyes wide, hopeful. I looked at him, then down at my hands. "He wasn't home," I said. He nodded, not knowing the difference. Picked up his toy truck and went back to his corner. I sat down on the couch. My chest felt hollow, but my head was clear. This wasn't going to shape him, not the way it shaped me. He'd grow up knowing that worth isn't measured by marriage certificates, that love isn't limited to who approves of your choices, that family isn't defined by who shows up in a group photo. I opened my laptop, no drama, no demands, just truth. Typed out an email to Dad, short, honest. "I stopped by. I brought your gift. But I guess I wasn't supposed to come. Just wanted you to know I tried." Before I could hit send, my inbox pinged. New message, from my stepsister. Subject: "You should have just stayed away." I clicked. It was a photo. The birthday table, perfectly arranged, everyone smiling. My chair, missing, not empty. Missing, like I'd never been part of the equation. I stared at the screen, not from heartbreak, from clarity. This wasn't forgetfulness. It was orchestration. The morning after the picture arrived, I woke up before my alarm, not from rest, just worn out. I lay there for a moment, the image still seared behind my eyes, everyone laughing around a table I wasn't allowed near. My inbox was still open on the laptop across the room. Same message from Fallon. Same subject line. You should have just stayed away. I didn't cry. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee going cold. The silence in the house was heavy, like it knew what had happened. My son was already at school. The walls didn't ask questions. I flipped open a notebook I hadn't touched in years. Its pages still smelled like the drawer I'd stuffed it into. I used to call it my emotional filter, a place I could put things before they poisoned me. I wrote 3 words. It was planned. I paused, then added a quote I hadn't thought about in years. Maya Angelou once said, "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time." I hadn't believed them, not the first time. Not the second, not even after the door was shut in my face. But now I was listening. A memory crept in as I traced the rim of my mug. 4th of July, years back. Pre-baby. I was still the version of me they tolerated, maybe even liked. The grill was going, music in the background. Dad was laughing at something one of the uncles said. I was walking up from the side yard when I heard it. My stepmother, leaning in toward Fallon with a smirk. "Girls who can't keep a husband shouldn't show up at family events," she whispered. Back then, I shrugged it off, laughed even, figured it wasn't about me. But it had been, always was. I jotted it down in the notebook. It wasn't the baby. It was me. I've always been the inconvenience. I needed to test a theory. I grabbed my keys and purse, heading out under the thin Modesto sun. A few errands. Nothing big. Just a drive that might tell me what I already suspected. By the time I pulled into the grocery store parking lot, I wasn't sure what I was looking for. But then I saw her, Aunt Dolores, my dad's sister. Quiet, reserved, never confrontational. She was loading groceries into the back of her car, her posture tired. I parked nearby, got out with a small wave. She didn't notice me until I was a few feet away. "Oh, hi," she said, startled, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I was just thinking about Dad's birthday," I said casually. "Hope it went well." She stiffened, just enough to notice. "Well, you know how things are," she murmured. "It's best not to upset the family rhythm." Family rhythm. "What does that mean?" I asked, keeping my tone light. She glanced around the lot, then at me. We just thought it would be easier this way," she said. "Less tension, fewer questions." "We?" I asked. She faltered. "We all kind of agreed. It just seemed best not to stir things up." There it was. Not a mistake. Not an oversight, a decision. I nodded once, smiled, even. "Thanks for being honest." She looked relieved and guilty all at once. Back in my car, I stared at the dashboard for what felt like forever. They'd agreed, every one of them, even the ones who used to send me Christmas cards, even the ones who commented under photos of my son with heart emojis. No one said a word. No one thought to ask if maybe I should be there too. This wasn't neglect. It was a quiet collusion, a slow, deliberate phase-out. I replayed the months leading up to this, the silence in the family group chat, the way plans were mentioned vaguely, without dates. Fallon's message months ago, buried under casual chatter. "Let me handle Dad's birthday this year." That's when it began. I opened my notebook again, wrote down names, conversations, dates, patterns, not to keep score, to see it all clearly. For the first time, I didn't feel crushed. I felt focused. If they wanted to pretend I never existed, I'd make it impossible for them to forget I did. The sun was too bright that morning. I pulled into Dad's driveway like I had 1,000 times before, but this time my hands trembled on the wheel. I had a manila folder in the passenger seat, legal documents for him to sign, nothing complicated, just routine estate paperwork I'd offered to update weeks ago. When I walked into the study, the air felt still, like it had been waiting for me. Dad wasn't in the room, but a sealed envelope sat on his desk, thick and official. I recognized his signature scrawled across the back. I opened it. It took a second to register what I was reading. My name, absent. The will had been changed. I wasn't in it. Not even mentioned. I sat down slowly, the wrapped birthday gift I'd never delivered still in my tote. I stared at the paper. This wasn't a slip. It was deliberate. When Dad finally entered, I held up the document. "Why did you change it?" I asked. He looked past me, at the wall, the window, anything but me. "It made things simpler," he said, barely audible. "For who?" He didn't answer. I left without waiting for more. I told myself maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe someone else made the decision for him. Families mess up. Maybe this was just another mistake. But my gut said otherwise. Later that day, I walked into the lawyer's office, clutching the folder like armor. It was my first time being officially involved in anything concerning Dad's estate. I didn't come to argue. I came for clarity. I laid the documents, emails, and old letters on the table. Things that referenced the property, my name, responsibilities I'd taken over after Mom died. The lawyer, an older man with tired eyes, scanned through them. He hesitated. "Some of this," he said carefully, "no longer applies." "What do you mean?" He pulled out a file. "Your father signed a title transfer. The property was moved into Sybil's name several years ago." My breath caught. "I was never notified." He shook his head. "There was no legal requirement to notify you, as long as he signed willingly." "Did he?" He looked at me, measured, then looked away. I stepped outside, numb. My body kept moving, but inside something cracked open. This wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was legal, quiet, permanent. When I got home, I locked the door behind me and stared at my own reflection. I looked small, but not weak. Just cornered. I thought about the framed blueprints still hanging in Dad's study, my high school design project he once bragged about to his friends. He said I had vision. He said, "One day, this house'll be yours." Was I ever truly part of his plan? Or just a placeholder until someone better came along? I reached for my notebook and wrote one sentence: "I deserve the truth." Then another: "I deserve justice." And just like that, the grief shifted. Not gone, just sharpened. No more hoping they'd come around. No more assuming the people you love will protect you. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table drafting letters. Calm, precise. I wasn't planning revenge. I was building a record. I requested public records from the courthouse, pulled deeds, tax filings, anything tied to the house. I called Oswin Clark, our old house manager. He once told me quietly, "Your dad didn't sign everything with both eyes open." He agreed to meet. That night, I stood outside Dad's old study. Oswin met me with a nod. His hands shook slightly as he pulled out a sealed envelope. It was old, the paper yellowed, the handwriting unmistakable. To my daughter, Jace. It was from my mother. Inside, she referenced the original property title, said she'd made sure my name was included for a reason, that Dad had agreed. Oswin cleared his throat. "Sybil paid the notary," he said, "to switch the deed, quietly." I didn't cry. I closed the letter and held it to my chest. This wasn't about forgetting. It was about erasing. The envelope came in the mail, addressed with perfect calligraphy, formal, unassuming, like nothing was wrong, like the last few months hadn't happened. Inside was a printed flyer, glossy, well-designed, celebrating the Ashmore legacy. Fallon's face front and center, beaming beside Dad. Not a single mention of me, not in the speaker list, not in the acknowledgments, not even in the photo montage on the back. The flyer was part of the community's newsletter. My stepmother had forwarded it with a sticky note attached. "Hope you'll attend. It's important we show unity." Her version of diplomacy, packaged lies dressed up as civility. My son saw the invitation lying on the table. "Mom, are you speaking at the event?" I smiled, small and strained. "We'll see." Later that day, someone posted the flyer on the neighborhood Facebook group. A comment popped up. "Glad to see the real daughter representing the family. Classy, like her father." I didn't reply. I stared at the screen, jaw tight, stomach hollow. They weren't just pretending I didn't exist anymore. They were rewriting the story, out loud. The event was held at the same community hall where they used to host holiday dinners, where Mom once taught craft classes, where I helped stack chairs after every event. Walking in felt like stepping into someone else's life. People smiled politely. A few nodded awkward hellos. I kept my back straight, my steps even. Fallon found me near the side entrance. Her voice was syrupy. "Oh, wow, you came." I stared. She leaned in closer. "You know, someone said you were trying to ruin the event's image." I didn't flinch. Funny how being present gets twisted into being disruptive. She shrugged, louder now, projecting for the people around us. "You always make things about you. These gatherings are for family." "I am family," I said, quiet but sharp. "You were, maybe. Now, it just seems like jealousy. You always wanted Dad's approval more than what's allowed." The crowd behind her had grown quiet. I saw eyes flicker toward us, then away. Awkward half smiles. No one stepped in. "I never wanted to be center stage," I said. "I just didn't want to be erased." Fallon's smirk held, but her eyes flinched. Afterward, I walked out to my car, overhearing whispers in the lot. "She just craves attention. She should have let it go. She makes it uncomfortable for everyone." I sat behind the wheel and opened Instagram. Fallon had already posted. A polished slideshow, her in a tailored dress, Dad's arm around her, the community plaque unveiled. Caption: Ashmore Pride, Unity and Love, honoring the legacy right. My name was nowhere. Again. The comments poured in. Likes, hearts, flame emojis. Then, "So graceful. Glad drama stayed out this year. Y'all are what family should be. Hope the other one doesn't show up again." I closed the app. And I sat there. My hands didn't shake this time. My mother once said, "Image can be a prison if you let other people build it for you." I was done letting them build mine. That night, I pulled out old voicemails, emails, notes. A voicemail from Dad years ago, him thanking me publicly for organizing a fundraiser in Mom's honor, his voice proud. That memory wasn't fake. I texted Aunt Dolores. She sent me a screenshot of an email Fallon had forwarded to the planning committee last month. "Let's make sure all appearances reflect our family values. No distractions this year." Distractions. I reached out to Oswin. He agreed to write a statement, said he'd seen the changes, the omissions, the pressure. Neighbors who'd watched me clean gutters at Dad's house or drop groceries at the back door, they started replying too. I opened a Word doc. This wasn't going to be a rage post. It would be clear, factual, documented. The truth, without dressing it up for sympathy or drama. By midnight, I had everything ready. Screenshots, transcripts, personal letters, dates, voices. I sat at my desk, the cursor blinking in the draft of the community response. My fingers hovered over the mouse, the publish button waited. Upstairs, my son stirred in his sleep. I looked up at the ceiling. Once I hit send, there was no turning back. Evening light slanted through my home office window. My son was asleep upstairs. The house creaked with silence. I closed the door and sat at my desk, the laptop's screen glow the only light in the room, the draft of my blog post still open. Evidence attachments, the video clip, my work, my name removed, staring back at me. The ache of being erased burned cold. I pushed back from the desk. I remembered Toni Morrison's words. "If there's a book you want to read, write it." I told myself, instead of whispers, I'll use documents. Whatever truth they try to bury, I'll unearth. Later, I drove through town to Oswin Clark's workplace. The old maintenance office of Ashmore Estate smelled of oil, wood, and years of unspoken burdens. Oswin met me at dusk, an envelope trembling in his hand. I recognized Mom's handwriting. My heart jerked. "To my daughter, never let them rewrite your place in this world," the letter read. Mom had known. She had planned, left proof. Oswin handed me photocopies, property deeds in Mom's name, project plaques listing me among sponsors, recognition long hidden. I cried a little. Not shame this time, but recognition. Mom had anticipated this erasure. She left breadcrumbs. At home, I opened the editor, drafted paragraphs about the edited clip and Mom's letter. But I paused. What if this blows up in my face? What if Dad rejects it? What if the community turns ugly? I felt fear. But then I remembered a mentor telling me, truth is not reckless when it's rooted. I trimmed the edges, chose facts, dates, names, not emotion. Calm, even when my heart raced. I set midnight as the hour to publish. That night, a message appeared on my phone. From Sybil. I hope you won't poison Dad's birthday with this mess. Then Fallon's post called the letter emotional manipulation or forgery. The newsletter delayed my response, citing technical issues. Comments appeared. She wants attention again. Is she making Grandma proud or Grandma sad? Anger mixed with grief. But the resolve settled in. Authenticity doesn't need loud cheers. It needs being undeniable. Just before midnight, I took a shaky breath and hit publish. The post went live. Letter scan, video, deeds, proofs I couldn't deny. My hands stilled as notifications popped. A neighbor sent a screenshot, property tax records. My name had always been on them. My pulse jumped. But the next comment cut deeper. Proof or drama for attention? I woke to red and orange lights slicing through the blinds, dragging me out of restless sleep. The phone beside my bed buzzed, screenshot shared from Fallon. A post titled, The Real Story. It looked like someone took bits of my blog post, rewrote them, twisted them. Parts that should have shown truth now suggested desperation. Someone clipped statements so they looked accusatory. My stomach dropped. The shame wasn't mine, yet it settled into my bones. Neighbors messaged, "Are you okay with all this attention?" Distant cousins forwarded the screenshot. Old friends sent hearts, but many sent silence, agreement. I stopped opening them. I stared at the screen a long time, breathing shallow. Why did they believe what they wanted over what was true? What good is character if others can rewrite it? Later, I saw Fallon's post about Avi, the school project drawing Avi had worked on, hanging bright in her backpack. Fallon's caption, "Even children learn what behavior their parents allow." The line hit me sharp. I was picking up my daughter from school when she asked, soft voice, "Mom, did I do something wrong?" I crouched, looked her in the eye. I held her little hand. "No," I said, "you did nothing wrong." But her face said she believed things could be wrong, that her mom was wrong. That evening, at home, I couldn't sleep. I turned on the living room light. Laptop open, Fallon's posts glowing back at me. Shame mixed with anger. Something inside snapped. I pulled up old documents, emails with Dad praising me, project acknowledgements, community newsletters listing me among organizers. Proof. Real pages with my name. I trembled, because proof isn't always enough for people who choose what they want to see. I sat in dark, heart pounding, knowing I couldn't just let the smear lie. I had to plan. I messaged Aunt Dolores, Oswin Clark, others who'd seen things, the clip editing, omissions in flyers, whispered conversations. Dolores sent photos. Oswin sent his memories, signs I had handled many tasks others ignored. I started building something that couldn't be dismissed. Compilation of screenshots, emails, voice messages, factual, unemotional, irrefutable. I drafted a statement, calm tone, clear claim, no outrage, just facts, names, dates, audit of contributions I made. I decided where to publish, on my blog, community forum, maybe a local paper. I typed, deleted, typed again, each word measured. They could accuse me of drama, but I couldn't let them accuse me of adding lies. Midnight arrived. I took a deep breath and clicked post. It went live, letter scan, deeds, the edited clip with my voice clarifying what was changed. The response was immediate. Notifications, shocked messages from people I thought were distant. Then a new post from Fallon. Is this really proof? Or just another drama for attention? And my father, one message. Did you have to do this in public? My chest tightened. I realized the battle had shifted. It was no longer about hiding the truth. It was about who I was in their eyes, someone strong or someone to be silenced. I woke before dawn. The garden outside Dad's estate was still dark, dew on the grass, birdsong hesitant. My son tugged at my sleeve, half awake. He asked, "Will I be in the photo today?" And for the first time in many mornings, I felt hopeful. I knelt, kissed his forehead, and said, "Yes." Later, I walked the garden path toward the gathering, choosing a dress Mom once loved. Fallon was already there, fussing with the photographer, adjusting Dad's blazer, holding his arm. Dad smiled at Fallon and only glanced my way. My heart clenched. The photographer called for everyone. Fallon stepped in front of me. She said, loud enough for many to hear, "Let's just get the parents and grandchildren first." My son stood beside me. I wasn't in the shot. I watched the shutter click, and I felt invisible. Fallon turned toward me, perfect posture, inoculated smile. "Dad always said, 'Who carries the name must keep its dignity,'" she announced as though reading a proclamation. The assembled family nodded, murmured. I held back anger. Shame bubbled. How dare she echo words Dad used in private when he meant something loving, something hopeful? As though he'd ever said that line to me. As though the legacy I built didn't count. I looked at Dad. He wasn't saying anything. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he was trapped in the roles others forced him into. I took a breath. "Dignity was never mine to lose, only theirs to pretend," I said softly. Not loud, not a show, but clear. After the photo session, people drifted toward refreshments under a canopy of white lights and trellises. No one greeted me. My son tugged at my hand. "Mom, I miss seeing your name." I stopped, looked around. Some neighbors offered awkward smiles, some avoided my eyes. Guilt climbed in me briefly. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe I should have stayed quiet. But a voice inside me whispered, "Peace is not always safety." I gathered myself. I had come too far to retreat. Back home, I called Aunt Dolores. She found old photo albums, me standing in the background of plaques that bore my name. She scanned them, sent them to my email. Oswin sent pictures too, postcards, newsletters, certificates, evidence that my name has always been in places they now pretend it never was. I opened video editor and photos. I began crafting a montage. Mom's social work, me volunteering, helping set tables, planting flowers at estate events, all moments they didn't credit me for. I practiced the words I would use. Calm. Clear. No more screaming inside. That evening, I shared the montage with trusted friends, asking them quietly to share if they believe in truth. My phone buzzed. A message from a cousin. "Is it true your name appears on the town hall plaque?" My chest tightened. If they believe this, maybe others will. Then another message. "Better watch your step. People around here don't like trouble." I stared at those words. I felt the weight. But I also felt something else. A spark. That maybe this was when everything started coming into focus. The sun hung low, turning the sky amber, when Dad's text came through. "Please come tonight. It would mean a lot." I stood in front of the mirror, hands clenched around the dress Mom once wore, one I avoided so many years. Something in me said this wasn't just an invitation. This was a chance. I drove to the estate just past golden hour. Lanterns lit the walkways, white lights strung between trees. I arrived holding Mom's framed photograph wrapped in soft cloth. Fallon stood by Dad, arms draped around him. Sybil welcomed people at the gate. Faces turned my way. They recognized me, but no one moved to greet. I kept my head high. Photographer stepped up, said, "Everyone." Fallon cut in, "Parents and grandchildren first." I froze. My son beside me. I wasn't included. Dad rose from his seat to speak. My chest tightened. He opened his mouth, but his voice trembled. He coughed. I saw the regret in his eyes. Weak, human. He paused, then steadied. "Thank you all for coming," he said, voice raspy. He glanced at me. I stepped forward, placed Mom's old photograph on the table. "This used to live here," I said, voice low. Fallon's face tightened. Sybil looked away. Dad lifted the photo, fingers trembling. "I never forgot," he whispered. The room went quiet. I cleared my throat, holding in anger. My name was on this house. My labor, my hands, my mother's hope. None of it was erased legally, even if you tried. Fallon opened her mouth. That photo doesn't change reality. Before she could finish, I said, reality is documented. I showed letters, deeds, names etched in plaques. Aunt Dolores nodded. Oswin Clark stood in the back. Murmurs. A neighbor's voice. She's speaking her truth. The air shifted. I felt seen. The music died. The lights felt dull. Dad stepped aside, his shoulders heavy. Sybil's voice cracked. This was not how I imagined this evening. Fallon faded into silence. My son's face lit with tears, pride tangled in uncertainty. I felt sorrow for years lost, moments we never shared, words left unspoken, love constricted. Yet hope glowed too, that recognition could heal something broken, that today was more than presence. It was acknowledgement. Cake appeared, candles lit. Dad reached for the knife. I watched as my photo stayed up front, on the table's centerpiece. Sybil's hand trembled. A napkin slipped. Fallon's gaze shifted. I inhaled, steady, ready to speak again if needed. Dad's voice, soft but clear. I want everyone to know. You belong here. Glasses lifted. A hush. People clapped, some hearts honest, some with relief. But across the room, I saw Fallon slip away. Hidden among guests, she held a phone. I knew secrets still lived there, evidence carefully tucked, stories waiting to be told. 2 mornings after Dad's birthday, I woke to a steady ping of messages. Avi's was first. Mom, you need to see this. Then Oswin, Dolores. A single link. I clicked. Fallon had released a clipped video. The lighting was low, the audio crisp. I heard my voice, but edited, twisted to sound bitter, resentful. Overlaid with captions. She's back for money. Ungrateful daughter returns. The comments were worse. Some called me manipulative, some called me brave. Most didn't know me at all. But something was different this time. My stomach didn't drop, my hands didn't shake. I sat with it, watched the video again, then deleted the link from my screen. The phone rang. Dad's number. Come over, he said, his voice low. It's time we finished this. I didn't rush. I packed slow. I brought the real documents again, and the original audio clip Oswin had backed up. I brought clarity, not vengeance. At the estate, the wind had stripped most of the party lights. The driveway felt longer, quieter. The front door wasn't locked. Inside, the fire was lit. Dad sat beside it, a cane now by his chair. Fallon stood off to the side, arms crossed, eyes twitching with guilt he wouldn't say aloud. On the coffee table sat the phone, the one Fallon had used. Dad didn't even look up. I saw what she did, he said. It ends here. Fallon scoffed. You always fall for her act. I didn't respond. Instead, I played the full audio. Not just my words, but Fallon's. Mocking Dad's health. Bragging about timing the edit. Laughing at how soft I'd become. Silence. Thick as mud. Dad looked at Fallon. Not with fury. With something heavier. Sadness. And maybe shame. Then his voice broke through it. You dishonored yourself, not her. Fallon's mouth opened, but no words followed. I turned to Dad. I'm not here to win. I just want peace. And my son to know his mother stood up when it mattered. Dad reached behind his chair. Pulled out an old, yellowed envelope. I knew that handwriting. Mom's. She wrote this after your graduation, he said. I never had the courage to give it to you. I opened it carefully. Her words in ink, still strong after all these years. One day, our daughter will be stronger than all this. Help her see it. I read it aloud. Nobody spoke. Fallon walked out. No slam, no words. Just gone. Dad looked smaller now, but more human than I'd seen in years. He reached into the drawer, handed me a velvet box. Inside was a brooch. Gold, shaped like a hawk. She wanted you to wear it when you reclaimed your name, he said. I took it. Not for show, not for spite. Just to remember her. Later, Sybil came down the stairs. She looked tired, eyes rimmed red. She said, "I didn't know it would go this far." I nodded. Nothing more. I walked through the house once more. My footsteps didn't feel out of place. I stopped in my old bedroom. Set a single framed photo on the shelf, my son and I, laughing under the sun. I didn't take anything else. A few days later, an envelope arrived, legal, sealed. Inside, a document. Dad had restored my name to the estate records. Fallon had removed himself, voluntarily. No court order, no press, just silence. And that silence was loud enough. I stepped outside. The garden was fading into autumn, leaves curled, the wind cold but clean. In that quiet, I heard her again. Truth takes time, but it always shows up. I smiled, closed my eyes. Then Avi burst out from the porch. "Mom, it's from a lawyer in San Diego." I turned, heart steady. She handed me the letter. "It's about Grandma's land," she said, breathless. I took it. A new truth, just waiting to unfold.